Densely populated, unregulated by city planners, and often lacking in infrastructure, it is no wonder some consider urban villages to be the city's slums. Today, we are once again diving headfirst into southern China's unique urban villages. We will first visit a thriving urban village in the heart of Shenzhen before heading across town to visit the last remnants of Shenzhen's formerly largest and most dense urban village. From there, we will visit a new upscale neighborhood to consider what might be lost when we destroy Guangdong's urban villages and replace them with high-rise communities and shopping malls. Please join me and bear witness to the death of the Chinese slum. We start today's tour in the heart of Shenzhen, Shangsha metro station on the southern end of Futian district, just over the border from Hong Kong. Shangsha was once part of a sprawling collection of 5 adjacent urban villages, though now large portions of those urban villages have since disappeared. Before we even enter Shangsha, it should be immediately apparent that the environment here looks significantly different from that of the urban villages in my 2 previous Guangdong videos, but especially the Shipai urban village, SLUM, in Guangzhou. We will talk about some reasons for this as we get further into the video, but before we do that, let's take a look at the outside of Shangsha village, shall we? Hello. So in one of my previous urban village videos, people asked about garbage. They said, how does it stay clean? Of course, you have lots of street sweepers and cleaners inside the urban village, but outside, the residents can also come dump their garbage in places like this. You know, they have a laji fenlei. It's different categories of garbage. So here we have food waste. You can dump your food, obviously. Residual waste, that's your trash. You have recycling, okay? And you have glass. And you even have things like chemicals and batteries right here, right? So try to keep everything separated. I don't know why you have dumpsters here, but there they are. There you go, answers your question. So here also we can clearly see this is like a garbage e-bike, not a garbage truck. These are the people that can drive through the urban village, through the narrow alleyways and pick up trash. And that's fully electric. Another garbage can area. These are basically lining the entire street every, I don't know, a couple hundred meters. And here you have somebody hanging their underwear. 10 years ago, there was no cafe culture in China. When I first came to China was 2012, and there was there were Starbucks around, but there were hardly any independent coffee shops. People didn't drink coffee, and that has changed massively. And it's not just they drink coffee, they go and hang out in coffee shops. They've picked up that kind of like European American cultural habit, kind of like a way to show off. They get face, some people, or some people just like coffee or like to work in public. It's different things for different people, right? But just to be able to show that you can just chill in a coffee shop on a weekday and have coffee, especially in a city like Shanghai or Shenzhen, shows you kind of have a next level of status, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, just seeing this kind of shop here is kind of really interesting to me because migrant workers typically wouldn't be the ones having coffee. But of course, again, it's on the street, so people will stop by and have coffee there. Another thing that people commented on last time was basically what happens if there's a fire inside the urban village. Again, I did show you, if you didn't skip around in the video, I'm just kidding, that there was like a little tiny fire truck that can drive through the alleyway, but very, very small, can't go through everything. But you also have things like this for the fire brigade or maybe even citizen volunteers, but probably the fire brigade to come. All the equipment's just here. If there's a fire inside the urban village, they can come. They got hoses, they got ladders, they got all kinds of stuff. They got boots, everything hopefully they need to put out a fire and save people's lives. But that's just sitting right here and nobody messes with it. Literally just across the street from the urban village, right there, is a massive, massive brand new mall. This whole entire mall, where it stands, used to be urban village. Inside the mall, you have, of course, all kinds of international brands as well as Chinese brands. You have everything from Starbucks to Manor Coffee to Chaji to Coco. Oh, those are all drink shops. 不好意思. So you also have other stores too, like makeup and fashion and all that stuff. And a McDonald's right over here. And now instead of having densely packed, really, really narrow alleyways and low standing buildings, 6 floors or 8 floors high, you have these massive skyscrapers full of apartment units right on top of the mall. Just outside of the village is a fresh produce and meat market. You can see it is clean and well maintained, and that unlike many markets in more rural parts of China, and the rest of Southeast Asia for that matter, there are no live animals and no wild game. We have goose, duck, pork, Cantonese style. And you got a shovel. Go, hello! Whoa, he's a scary looking guy. Alright. So as I said, that market is just right across from the mall. And the mall, we just emerged from there. It's right here. Here on the ground, you can see markings for where you're allowed to park your bikes. Of course, not everybody follows all the rules, but here, more bike parking markings. But you can see they have the SLUMS, the tricycles. Pretty well organized, actually. Pretty well organized. People are following the rules. And it's not always the case. But Shenzhen people will be pleased to hear me say that Shenzhen is actually quite a civilized city. A Wenming Shangsha. Here you have charging for the e-bikes, and it's covered. Even in America, for our electric cars, not our electric e-bikes, we don't have covering when you're charging. But in China, you do have lots of cover charging for cars and even e-bikes. Pretty cool. So I just want to point out that there's a massive street right here. It would be impossible to get across. If you're living in, say, like Houston or somewhere in the States, right? You're never going to be able to cross the street because they're not going to have a pedestrian bridge above it. You're going to have to walk, I don't know, if you're lucky, way down there or way down there, and then cross the street. And it's going to be an awful experience for pedestrians. But see, in China, we have lots of these footpaths, these bridges that cross the big roads and small roads for that matter. And this one even, as you can see, allows for cyclists and not motorcyclists, but electric bicyclists or scooters, mopeds to actually go up as well. If for some reason you're unfamiliar with what these people are, who they are food delivery drivers, and they are not construction workers, despite what you may have seen on other channels on YouTube. These guys are not construction workers. And these are, of course, share bikes, this yellow one. You can rent those for a very, very cheap price. You may have seen those in your country. Maybe pre-COVID, a lot of Chinese companies were bringing their share bikes to the masses, to France, to Canada, to the States. But most of them are probably all gone now because a lot of them did go belly up. Even here in China, there were so many. You've probably seen the bicycle graveyards on the internet. But there still are some that are operating, the ones that have survived. Buzzing with activity. Okay, let's go. Before we venture into the urban village today, we're right on the outside of it. I just want to show you what kind of stores, what kind of shops are here, how they serve the community, and how this is just a really vibrant community that you can do everything, you can get anything, pretty much just from walking out of your house. Very, very convenient. I mean, the first one we see right here is a cigarette shop, so you can get that. Here you can get your feet cleaned, your feet scrubbed. And you got t-shirt, 68 RMB there for a dress shirt. You can go to a job interview. Here you have a fresh fruit and veg market. Here, through here. Again, we're not going to go in yet, but you can get your keys cut. You have a locksmith. You have this guy who can probably repair pretty much anything. You can see it says air conditioner repair, house electronic repair, water, everything. You can get it all fixed there, internet, everything. So this guy's an all-purpose handyman. You can also buy some electronic goods like power supply, I forget what they're called. I'm stupid. My English is bad. You can get light bulbs, everything in there. But we're not going in yet. Hello. And right here is a pharmacy. Literally everything you need, 5 minutes away. Here is also a bakery. You can get fresh baked bread. And e-bike repair. They will repair it, fix it up, or put a new battery in it. All that stuff, give you air for your tires. And that's you can also buy e-bikes here as well. Very, very needed in this area because everybody gets around on e-bikes. Ooh, here we go. Got duck head, duck neck. Hello, ni hao. Here you get steamed bread, you got dumplings, mantou, baozi, another one, youtiao, baozi. This is youtiao, it's a Chinese donut. Some dumplings, burritos, Chinese burritos. And this is liangpi and rojiamo, so this is like food from maybe northwest China, kind of like Xi'an, Shangsha area. Wide variety of food options available in Urban Village. Just like last time, you saw it before. And here we have chao cai, so that'd be like fried, stir fry, I guess, with rice. Kind of like what you might be familiar with, or probably are familiar with Chinese food in general. If you went to a shop like that, you would find something that you could eat, even if you're picky. Fried pork with some green peppers and rice. Here is Chinese dessert. More specifically, it's more like southern Chinese dessert, I would say, like tang shui. So you can see that right here. You get mango, pearls, red beans, and probably some ice and coconut juice, something like that. You can put lots of different toppings in there. It's pretty good. Still not going inside yet because they want to show you something before we get in there. It's way down here. I saw it when I exited the DTA, the subway, sorry. My Chinglish just naturally comes out. I can't help it. Again, outside of the subway station, outside of the urban village, you have power swap stations for e-bikes. Right here, you can just come here, scan a QR code, and you'll get a fully charged battery. Now, these are perfect for, delivery drivers. They will come and swap their battery and they can get back on the road and get back earning money because they make money, just like everybody else. They make it per ticket usually. Maybe they have a base salary, I'm not entirely sure, but per delivery, so they gotta keep on going. So they can swap the battery really, really quickly, just like you've seen in EV cars too on this channel. You can swap a car battery, swap a moped battery, back on the road immediately. Value Chain Hotel, just as part of the urban village, just on the outside. Pretty affordable for a 7-day hotel. This tricycle here appears to be some sort of a bar. So it says Ganbei in Chinese there, that means cheers. Beer here, and this says Street Side Jietou Club. So I've never seen this before, this is really interesting. And that is skating. So that's a cool little business, I guess. I don't know where you would find them, where they drive to, maybe right here. Here we have like a beauty clinic. You get your skin done. I don't know what else. I don't go to beauty clinics. And a convenience store here. Another cigarette and alcohol shop. We have milk tea and coffee. And here we have a photo studio. You can get wedding photos, or visa photos, ID photos, all that kind of stuff. Here is a main entry and exit for the Xiaochu, or the urban village. Actually, right now it's only an exit. So probably there's only one way in maybe, or maybe 2 ways in with cars. So you can see you can leave here, but this way is all, hello, you guys taking a picture of me, all blocked off. And also you can see just beyond the urban village, very high sky rises, new apartments going in. As I'm sure you've seen, the residents in this urban village are well served and most of their daily needs can be easily met within walking distance. For everything else, they have no need for a car, as Shenzhen's massive and cheap public transit network is easily accessible just minutes from every single resident's doorstep. As we enter the urban village on the main street, you will notice how little vehicle traffic there is. For most communities like this, the few roads that are here are primarily for commercial vehicles like delivery vans, taxis, and for the few residents who do actually own their own car. This is not a road designed for through traffic. This helps to ensure the urban village remains safe, walkable, quiet, and livable. This is an environment that is built for humans and not for cars. The urban villages here in southern China, and in particular Shenzhen and Guangzhou, have long been a first stop for rural migrant workers attempting to find their fortune or even simply a sustainable way of life in the big city. The urban village long provided a vital source of affordable housing for the migrant workers, upon whose cheap labor the city's prosperity has been built. 你喜欢住在城乡村里面吗？
当然肯定，你要说喜欢，肯定都没人喜欢了，肯定想住的好一些了。是外省过来的，
是哪里的？
四川。
四川。
对。
在深圳多久？
20多年。
20多年，
对，
一直在长江村里面吗？
对，不，这里是刚过来，住这边也有很多年了。因为我的孩子是在这边学初中3年级了。
OK， 你是什么行业？
我是做电子行业的。
你今天不上班吗？
不是，我今天刚调休。我觉得其实城中村的话，就是很多来深圳的人，他在一定的就是说为了就是有些每个人的工作不一样嘛，就是说肯定每个人是想做的舒服一点，但是有些在经济能力达不到的前提下，可能做一个过渡啊也是很好的。其实他这边就是在深圳市内的城中村的话，它那些还是很便利的，就包括生活啊，或者是你的一些出行啊，都还是很方便。到处也是现在深圳的交通也很方便嘛，就是地铁口啊，到处都是地铁啊，
很方便对吧？
对，很方便。
我可以问你长江村的房租费是多少吗？
像这边的话，应该是1房1厅是2000多吧
？2000多。
2000多，
还可以吧
？30-40个平。
还可以。这里大部分是四川人还是广州人？
广东
人？
很多外地，就是包括四川、湖南或者是其他省的都会有一些在里面。
那你们都说普通话吗？
大部分都是吧。基本上，按理说就是在深圳这个地方，就是习惯了都是以普通话交流了。就是包括有时候老乡在一起的时候，有时候都不自然的就说普通话。
那你有老乡的朋友在这里吗？
有啊。
有吗？
有。
你们说你本地的话吗？
我们说我们四川话。
四川话。
对，就是在一起的时候会说。
挺好的。
下午就约了几个四川朋友一起聚一下，然后
挺好，
吃个饭什么的。
谢谢你。
你是哪个国家的？
我是美国人。我非常喜欢长江村，在YouTube
油
管。
油管上面的是吧？
对。
能知道你的号吗？
可以。
但油管我好像是没有，但是
我也有 B 站，但是没有人看我 B 站。我 B 站很少。
B 站很少是吧？
但是你可以看。
你加个微信，我扫你。
好的。
然后回头我去看看哈。
OK。
那挺好。
好，谢谢你。
OK。
Thank you。拜拜。Thank you. That guy, Joe, was extremely nice and informative about life in an urban village. So that was very cool, very cool, very cool. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. If you watch my original urban village video in Shenzhen, I did talk about like gentrification. I talked about the mistress villages. I talked about how there's still lots of like vice and things like that in urban villages. But honestly, they're all quite different. If you did watch that first one, and then you watch the one in Guangzhou, which was extremely dense, the most dense in China. It's very, very dark. Alleyways were basically, covered. It was so dark. It was like nighttime. You can see they're all very different. Like this one, long and narrow, but quite a bit of sunlight. They're not so close together. And I would probably argue, although this is my first time here, just from experiencing a little bit, I would want to say a little bit more of like an expensive, upper class, in comparison, urban village. That's just a guess, just initial observations. It seems like it's very well taken care of. It seems like it's more of like families, just by judging by what's in the windows. Probably lots more local people here, maybe people who have lived in Shenzhen for 20, 30 years. Because as you probably know, this is a relatively new city in China, very new city in China. But these urban villages have existed for a long time, and the city just kind of was built around them. But honestly, it's kind of hard to find a lot of the history of each of these urban villages, at least in English. I did find some stories. I'll put some links in the description talking about urban villages and talking about redevelopment plans, gentrification. But for the most part, it does seem like the ones that exist now are going to probably mostly continue to exist. There you go, more rooms to rent. 一房一厅. I feel like down here might be the most closely packed buildings in this whole urban village. These might actually be handshake buildings, in the point where, like I've told you before, you can reach out your window and shake the hand of your neighbor, so they're called handshake buildings. There is apartments where you can rest your heart. And here you have another set of firefighting equipment. I just love how these places are just, teeming with life. You have stuff everywhere. People hanging their clothes. You have their decorations. They got like a jack-o'-lantern over here. Bowl. You have your teapot. Dusty. Hasn't been used in a while. You got the razor wire here with all the clothes on it. Although I personally feel like this community here is a lot quieter, a lot less hectic than the first two I was at. It seems a lot less dense. I still find it to be a very fascinating place, and I still just love walking around in this kind of place. But it's just so darn quiet back here. You don't have too many guys like this, like him, driving through on their electric bikes, making deliveries. Go back and watch the previous one, link in the description. So narrow, and so many people riding motorcycles and wandering around. And this one's a lot more chilled out. Here we have adult products, 청년용品. So this is like gonna be sex toys and condoms and things like that. 24 hours, you can buy whatever you need. Condoms there, probably some lube. You got some stuff that I'm gonna have to blur out on YouTube. This one is a Japanese girl's private part. I'm sorry I can't speak very clearly about what these things are, because I will get demonetized. I guess I make my money on YouTube these days. I don't work, so gotta get what I can. I'm not gonna show you, but there is definitely adult services place there. I know people got mad last time I showed it, I talked about it, but there was one, and you just gotta believe me. It's still here, it still exists. There's no reason to be ashamed of it or deny that it exists. I don't know why people do. According to Mary Ann O'Donnell, there are two distinct eras of urban villages. During the era of the new villages from 1979 to 2004, villages were not treated as part of the city proper, which meant that the city did not provide residents with public water, electricity, and sanitation services. After 2004, in what she calls the era of the urban village, the city actively began integrating urban villages into medical and educational networks, as well as providing them with essential services. At the same time that these urban villages were being integrated into the city proper, many were marked for either rejuvenation, partial demolition, or for total removal. Over the past 20 years, the majority of Shenzhen's urban villages have been destroyed and replaced. O'Donnell provides two examples of the different strategies for urban renewal and their effects. She states that for the Tianmian renovation, the urban village was comprised of 4 general areas: high-end commercial, high-end residential, mid-range commercial and residential, and low-end commercial and residential. This layout has allowed for a diverse spectrum of residents and livelihoods within the village, suggesting an inclusive understanding of rural urbanization. This was in 2004. Just 5 years later, Shenzhen started the redevelopment of another urban village at Shangsha. The Shangsha urban renewal entailed the construction of high-end commercial and residential buildings. When Shangsha village was demolished, an estimated 100,000 people were evicted. Only villagers who had equity in the old village would receive compensation and could afford to return to the newly rebuilt area. The majority of the residents of Shangsha relocated to other urban villages that were not as conveniently located, i.e. not in the city center, but pushed to urban villages located in outer suburbs. By now, it should be clear that Shangsha is an urban village that has not just been maintained, but has also been upgraded over the years. The massively connected urban village cluster that it was once a part of is now much smaller, less dense, and its categorization as a slum, if it ever could have been called one, now clearly does not fit the bill. Shenzhen and China killed this slum through improvements in living standards, wages, connectedness, and basic services. Next, let's head across town and look at another slum that has been killed, utilizing a totally different method. From Shangsha Metro, it's just a quick half-hour ride to Baishizhou Station. The interconnectedness of the urban village with both the rest of the city and to the national rail network is vital to Shenzhen's migrant population. The metro system is part of a well-integrated transit network. It is clean, efficient, safe, and affordable, even for low-income workers. Reliable public transport, as well as affordable housing, is what provides opportunity and hope to many of the residents of Guangdong's urban villages. For an in-depth look at Shenzhen's metro system, check the link to my video in the description. At Baishizhou village, the final few residents cling to what is left of their neighborhood and their unique way of life, while their entire village crumbles around them. Baishizhou is in Nanshan district, with direct views of the Eiffel Tower at Windows of the World, one of Shenzhen's most popular tourist attractions. Only a decade ago, Baishizhou was Shenzhen's most famous urban village. It was home to approximately 150,000 residents in an area of only approximately 0.6 square kilometers. This extremely dense, dynamic urban village was once the first stop for almost every migrant to Shenzhen who came looking for work, accommodation, or a sense of community, and others from his or her hometown. In 2019, it was slated for urban renewal, and despite its storied history and its many reluctant residents, demolition was set to begin not long after. Of course, 2020 and the ensuing years happened, but now here we are in April 2025, and very little remains of the village once known as Baishizhou.
This is Baishizhou 村吗？
白石洲村啊，
都
算是。
冷静吗？
你要去哪里啊？
你看一下。
你就是到处转转。那这里面可以啊，
这里
可以转的。
从这里。
你走到前面都出，那这个出口就里面的，你会不会走啊
？OK， 都要拆吗？
对呀，他这里说是要拆嘛，但是他现在都没有，都好像有一点烂尾的。都有，四处都有人。
好的，
可以转。
好的，谢谢你。谢谢。So right now I'm entering Baishizhou. It's like the biggest, densest, craziest urban village in Shenzhen in history in the past. But as you can see, a lot of it is construction, or I should say, demolition. You. 哎，你好，不客气。打麻将啊？对啊。是什么样的麻将？四川麻将吗？
不是，广东麻将。
广东麻将，可以碰可以吃吗？
不可以吃。
不可以吃，
这可以碰。
这里可以逛一逛吗？
可以逛啊！你是哪个国家的？
我是美国人。
你是美国人？
美国人，对。
哎，你说我们中国话说的这么好？
还行吧，谢谢。
我这第一次发现了。
啊？
我是第一次发现美国人说中国文。
是吗？
说的这么好啊！
你认识很多美国人吗？
啊？
你认识挺多美国人吗？
我看到你像不要过来，我以为你是俄罗斯的。
俄罗斯不行。
不是俄罗斯的。
我是美国人。
你是美国人啊？
美国人。我是美国加州的。
哦。
你哪里的？
我们是中国人啊。
你是广东的？
我是湖北的。
湖北的。
湖北你知道不？
我知道，我去过。
你去过？
全中国都去过。
哎呦。
那你住在这里吗？
我们现在在这边打工啊。
打工。拆掉吗？还是？
对。
这个以前是深圳最大的城中村。
啊，是。对。
现在什么都没有。
现在把贴钱了。你就换新嘛。你会打麻将吗？
我会的。
你会打？
好，谢谢。
但是中文说这么好啊！我觉得他是搞木子的。
Unfortunately, I never got to come here when it was at the peak of its power. Something like maybe 2014 or so, I would say, just from my readings. Now, estimates vary on how many people were actually living here at the time. Anywhere from like 100,000 to 300,000 people. You might remember my urban village in Guangzhou. That has an estimate of 50,000 people living in that urban village in a very small area. 都要拆掉吗？ 什么时候拆? And tons of immigrants, migrants from all over China came to live in here. Supposedly one of the most vibrant, crazy, diverse, fun places to live in Shenzhen at the time, with tons of nightlife, bars, people eating yeshao, eating street food. Everything was here. It's a whole city within a city. Just a few big urban city blocks. Absolutely mental, right? And now there's not much left of it. So I just wanted to show you this because, this is basically the future that most urban villages have for themselves here in Shenzhen. Again, some of them are being renovated, some of them are being gentrified, but for the most part, they're all being torn down and destroyed. Right here, this is what worker dormitories look like in China for construction workers. Let's go on this side and see what it says. So yeah, these are going to be workers who are doing the subway. It says China subway construction, basically, blah, 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 company. That's what it says there. So these guys probably work basically day and night building that new subway line and subway station just around the corner. We still have advertising for apartments, maybe old advertisements. They don't have dates on them, so hard to say. Or maybe people still trying to rent out rooms here in this urban village. Oh, I did see a lot of people comment that bikes are left unlocked in previous videos. No, a bike like this is going to be locked up, as you can see. It's not locked to anything, but the wheel is locked. And here we have signs about propaganda telling you different things. So this one says, don't put your electric bike battery inside the house. Safety or something is you and me together. We do it together. That's my awful translation, but I think it's pretty close. Safety is something that we all do, so don't burn your house down. Good advice. Actually, China's really cool. It's interesting. Maybe I'll make a video someday about all the kind of slogans, propaganda, signs everywhere that remind you to be a good citizen, remind you to be safe, remind you not to get scammed by scammers. I always find that very interesting. Because I think in America we're more cynical. People will see signs like that and I don't know, I think it's like people trying to take your guns or tell you to wear a mask or something, right? They'll get mad about it. They say, you can't tell me what to do. I want to get scammed, I get scammed. But in China it's more like they're willing to accept, they accept the signs, they don't tear them down. But who knows if they are also cynical. I don't know. I think Chinese people are more willing to take in the advice of the government putting up signs that tells them to put on a mask during COVID or not to get scammed today. So here we still have a unit that's got a lot of people living in it, clearly. Still standing. 你好。你好。这个不会拆掉吗？不拆。Oh, 很好. So this building, that guy said, is not going to be torn down. At least that's what he says. And a lot of people live in here. You still have, of course, convenience store. You have home goods stores. You got fans, buckets, umbrellas, sweeps, brooms, dustpans, gloves. Everything you need still here. Household appliances. And then on the other side, everything boarded up. This building definitely coming down sooner than later. And then here on his side, you have somebody advertising their hair cutter, apparently still in business, down this way, and yet all the blocks are all blocked off. They're probably cleaning up whatever they'd torn down behind these walls. Oh, toilet. Here you can see buildings. Here you can see what's over there. I can't see it, but you guys can see it.
Urban villages like Baishizhou have a sort of magnetic attraction to them. People are drawn to them, whether it is the migrant workers, curious geographers like me, or documentarians capturing the lives, the architecture, or the culture within. It is nearly impossible to stay away once you know that these villages are here.
I just ran into a photographer here who also loves urban villages, and this particular one, and he's shooting photos. And yeah, nice guy. So it's not just me that's curious, clearly, and it's not just all of you who are curious on YouTube.
Qing Niao is a photographer. I ran into him as I chased down this elusive barbershop in Baishizhou.
That Li Fa Din, they're very good at like promotion, like marketing, because I was walking through and I saw the first one, like way out there. I saw a sign that said Li Fa and it says this way, and I started walking this way. Then it says this way, and then it says this way, this way, this way. So great marketing, because I would have never found the place if they don't have all the signs everywhere.
He has been using his camera to document the end of this village and how it has been changing as it draws its final dying breaths. He tells me the streets are changing every day. One day a building stands, the next day it is rubble. But he still knew the roads, the lanes, and the secret pathways to reach each and every remaining resident and every last open shop.
这里就是刚才我们隔着那个墙，它这边烧东西的，那个烟冒起来的地方，烧东西应该就是烧东西。
你叫什么名字啊？小白。
我家狗叫小白。
Hi.
We talked and we walked for a couple hours. I asked for an interview with him on camera, as he certainly had a lot to say. But for now, while this demolition is still ongoing and his photographic journal of the end of Baishizhou is still incomplete, he just wanted me to share with you some of his photos and his Xiaohongshu account. And he says that in the future, he will gladly talk about this project and what it has meant to him and to those that he has met here in the smoldering embers of Baishizhou village. The graffiti on the wall indicates if the building has already been emptied of people, possessions, and memories. It also lets us know if the owners have agreed to compensation and whether or not the building will be demolished.
So this means that people already all moved out?
Yes,
And then,
everyone.
and then this one that still has people living in it.
So are these urban villages slums? Of course, each urban village is different, but I do again want to note, even though I've addressed it previously, there were a large number of comments in both of my previous videos that attempted to make the argument that these urban villages could not possibly be slums because the property values are sky high. There are many problems with this argument, and it can be attacked from many different angles, but to me the biggest one is that the residents of these urban villages are primarily not the owners of the properties. Many people in China, and around the world for that matter, are working poor, living in properties owned by rich landlords, or in many cases we can call them slumlords. Simply living in a valuable property doesn't say anything about the resident or the material conditions of him or her. Again, quoting O'Donnell, redevelopment of Shangsha entailed massive compensation packages and replacement of the dense multi-use urban village environment with an upscale gated community, office buildings, and a mall. The Shangsha renovation reportedly created 20 billionaires. The Shangsha village renovation displaced over 100,000 people. You will remember from the Shipai village video I made that Shipai village has about 50,000 residents in essentially one large city block, with over 90% of the residents being migrants and definitely not owners of the property that they are living in. Baishizhou, the village that we are walking through right now, had estimates of anywhere from 150,000 to 200,000 residents at its peak. These people, for the most part, owned nothing, lived in dense, dark, often dirty conditions, and for many years, for many of them, they were disconnected from city services and basic necessities like indoor plumbing and electricity. But again, that's why we're talking today about the death of the Chinese slum. Through a multitude of different strategies,
like deliberate city planning through urban renewal, through providing resources and integrating the villages into the city systems, and through, in some cases, complete destruction, displacement of people, and replacement of entire neighborhoods. The slums in Chinese Tier 1 cities like Shenzhen are on their last legs. Again, look at Shangsha village here from the start of this video. It is an old urban village. It used to be part of a massive, dense urban village environment, but now it is clean, it is organized, it is integrated into the community, and it might have a few rough edges here and there, but it is mostly a middle-class neighborhood at this point. It is definitely not a slum. Take a look at Baishizhou. Once the biggest urban village in Shenzhen, it is now nearly entirely destroyed. Soon it will resemble every other modern development in Shenzhen, full of tall apartment buildings, green spaces, office towers, and shopping malls. So much of the character of the place, so much of the history, so many of the stories will be lost to future development. The sights, the sounds, the smells that ooze through the narrow alleyways, they have all given way to what will soon be another formless, indistinct bit of Shenzhen. Now, I'm not against progress at all. I don't want people to live in squalor. I'm not arguing in favor of that. I do not know if these places should ultimately all be preserved or in what way they should be preserved. And I know that if I'm an owner, I would gladly exchange my old handshake building that I probably don't even live in for the promise of generational wealth. I would do that in a heartbeat. I also know that for many of the residents actually living in the urban villages, these urban villages, they represent hope for a better future. They give them opportunities to live in and work in Tier 1 cities, in the heart of the city, in vibrant communities full of people like them, full of people also chasing their dreams. Without these urban villages, many of these migrant workers will not be able to live downtown, will not be able to live close to work, and they will have far fewer opportunities. I would guess that for many of them, the benefits of living in an urban village far outweigh the drawbacks of perhaps living in a slightly dilapidated, old, dense urban village handshake building. Before we go, let's take a walk through one more neighborhood. This is a relatively new development called One Shenzhen Bay. I'm not arguing right now that there used to be an urban village here. I don't know what was here before. I just want to take a quick walk through this neighborhood and see how it compares to an urban village. Here's One Shenzhen Bay right here, entrance. I can't go in there, it's all obviously private. Very, very expensive houses in there. Right outside in the front you have this Bentley dealership. This van right here probably costs like a few $100,000 at least. I don't know the price of these vans, but it's a Maybach, Mercedes. So check out this, even their little map telling you where you are here, it's got like gold reflective material indicating the buildings and where you are. Most public maps aren't going to be like that anywhere in the world. We've got luxury cars, Ferrari, McLaren, Bentley, Aston Martin, and Lotus. Haute couture and art, wellness, obviously home furnishing, food and social. Yeah. Compared to the shops that were in the urban village, which is like home cooked meals and baozi and like dianpingche, electric e-bike repair, bicycle repair. That's not what you're gonna find here in a housing development like this. Here we have a Lotus store right next to us. I just can't help but feel how unlived in these places are. These very rich neighborhoods, I guess you can call it. You know, rich people, by and large, or at least the ones that would live in a place like this, they're paying, of course, for a nice house, a nice environment, but they're paying to get away from the riffraff, away from the proles, the poor people, so they don't have to see them, don't have to hear them, don't have to think about them. Obviously, that's just maybe some of my own bias against people who live like this. You can spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on a home here, and you're just gonna be, I mean, I guess the difference is like when you go out, you just go straight to your car, which is parked underground. You don't actually need to ever walk through here if you don't want to, right? You can just go to your car and then drive to where you want to go, office or your villa in the countryside or whatever rich people do, the airport. So I mean, who even walks around out here and shops and has coffee?
I don't know. You have a Vogue cafe going in here. Skyscraper office building. Incredible public art here. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what to say about a place like this. Like, where would you rather live in terms of, if you can put aside like the quality of the housing, let's say that, like, obviously I'd rather live here in a nice house than like a little shack with a dormitory, right? I think most people would. But in terms of like the quality of the neighborhood, the people around you, the feeling, being a place that's like vibrant and dynamic and fun, this is not it for me. This is definitely not it. What do you think? Where would you rather live? You tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you haven't seen my other 2 Urban Village videos, there are links in the description.